All right, so when you're feeling lonely, what's the first pet that pops into your head? A dog, right? Maybe a cat? But what if you chose an otter? Seriously. Today, we're diving into the incredible true story of a guy named Gavin Maxwell, whose grief led him to one of the most unusual and amazing animal friends you can imagine.
Okay, just picture this for a second. You've made up your mind. You want an otter. Not a puppy, not a kitten, an otter. Where do you even start? I mean, really? Well, that's the exact problem our author was facing. And let me tell you, the answer sent him on the adventure of a lifetime. So, let's set the scene. We're in the wild, remote West Highlands of Scotland at a cottage called Camusfirna. And that's where we find our author, Gavin Maxwell, all alone. See, he just lost his beloved dog, Johnny, and the house just felt empty. Life without a pet felt pretty much unbearable.
And then, this kind of wild idea pops into his head. He thinks, instead of another dog, what about an otter? And it actually made sense. I mean, his home was surrounded by water, just a stone's throw from the front door. It really seemed like the perfect setting for this crazy experiment in companionship.
You know what's wild? How fast this little daydream turned into a real, actual plan. Maxwell just casually mentioned it to a friend, and his friend was like, "Oh yeah, you should totally get one from the Tigris marshes in Iraq. They're everywhere, like mosquitoes, and people over there tame them all the time." And just like that, a trip he already had planned to Basra, well, it suddenly had a whole new mission.
But of course it wasn't that easy. The mail from his friend, the mail that was supposed to have his otter, kept getting delayed. Day 1, the phone line's dead. Day 2, the exchange is closed for a holiday. Day 3, the line breaks down again. So for 5 long, super frustrating days, Maxwell is just stuck in Basra, waiting and waiting.
Finally, after all that waiting, the moment came. It was time to meet MIJBIL. So, picture this. He's at the consulate general, and these 2 guys walk in carrying a sack. And the sack is, well, it's squirming, twisting and moving all on its own. Yep, the otter was here.
So what tumbled out onto the floor was definitely not what he was expecting. It was this little creature covered head to toe in mud that had dried into these pointy scales. Maxwell himself said it looked like a tiny little medieval dragon. You could just see this soft chocolate brown fur peeking through the cracks.
And get this was no ordinary otter. He named him MIJBIL, and it turned out Mij was part of a subspecies that science had never seen before. That's right. Zoologists ended up naming it after him, Lutra galle perspiculata maxwelli, or, just Maxwell's otter. But that connection, it wasn't instant. For the first 24 hours, MIJBIL was kind of distant, sleeping on the floor as far away as he could get. But then, everything changed. On the second night, MIJBIL hopped up onto the bed and curled right up in the crook of Maxwell's knees. The trust was starting to build.
So once MIJBIL got comfortable, his real personality started coming out. And let me tell you, that personality was all about play, curiosity, and yeah, a whole lot of chaos.
Okay, so Maxwell takes him into the bathroom, and MIJBIL discovers the tub. And he goes absolutely wild with joy. He's plunging, rolling, splashing all over the place like a tiny hippo. He was totally in his element.
It was like MIJBIL had this whole philosophy about water. For him, water must be kept on the move. If it was just sitting there, it was wasted and provoking. So any bowl of water, it had to be knocked over or sat in until it spilled everywhere. Water was for playing, never for just sitting still.
MIJBIL's playful side was just endless. He could make a toy out of anything. Marbles, rubber balls, ping pong balls. He even had this old terrapin shell from his home back in the marshes that he loved.
But his real signature move, his specialty, it was juggling. He would lie flat on his back and just juggle 2 or more marbles on his belly, passing them around with his paws without ever dropping one. It was amazing to watch, just pure playful genius.
So, after these nice, quiet days in Basra, Maxwell realized he had a huge problem to solve. The biggest challenge was still ahead. How on earth was he going to get MIJBIL from Iraq all the way back home to Scotland?
I mean, that's a serious question, right? You can't just buy an otter a plane ticket. The main British airline to London said, no way to flying animals. So he had to find a different airline, one that would at least get him as far as Paris.
And even that airline had some super strict rules. MIJBIL had to be in a box no bigger than 18 inches square, and that box had to stay on the floor right at Maxwell's feet. Yeah, you can already see where this is going, can't you?
So Maxwell gets this box specially made.
About an hour before they have to leave for the airport, he puts MIJBIL inside to let him get used to it, and he goes to grab a quick bite. But when he gets back, silence. He looks inside, and it's a disaster. MIJBIL had totally panicked, torn the lining to shreds, there was splintered wood and even blood. And there was no time to do anything about it. They just had to go.
And no surprise, that busted-up box didn't last. Right in the middle of the flight, it bursts open and poof, MIJBIL is gone. The whole cabin just erupts into chaos. You've got people shrieking as this little otter is just booking it down the aisle. It was a total mess, with Maxwell trying desperately to get him back.
So Maxwell is on his hands and knees trying to see under the seats. And then, all of a sudden, he hears it. This familiar little chitter from right by his feet. It was MIJBIL. The little guy bounded right onto his knee and just started nuzzling his face and neck. He was back, and he was safe.
So after that very eventful flight, the two of them finally made it to London. They ended up staying in Maxwell's flat there for almost a month. And that's where a whole new adventure began, with MIJBIL discovering all the strange and wonderful things in a London apartment.
So you think about it, what started as one man just trying not to feel so lonely turned into this incredible journey across continents, the discovery of a new species, and this amazing unbreakable bond. The story of MIJBIL really shows us that you can find a friend in the most unexpected places. It kind of makes you wonder about the surprising and, yeah, sometimes chaotic connections that are possible, doesn't it?